Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. We've got an amazing show for you today. This is breaking news happening right now. I told you, and then I told you guys again and again and again, the Democrats are about to be criminally indicted. We are going to see members of Congress in handcuffs. We're going to see Letitia James in handcuffs. We are going to see Joe Biden's preemptive pardons churned over, reversed. And the people that he pardoned, they're going to go to jail. Plus, I told you, the person that is using Joe Biden's auto pen to sign all these laws, right? And to sign all these pardons, we're going to find out exactly who it is. And that person's going to go to prison too. But I read all these comments. Vlad, nothing's going to happen. I was right. Members of Congress were just indicted on criminal federal charges, felony charges. On top of that, we got a huge update on Letitia James, and we got more updates on the Joe Biden administration and the preemptive pardons. Do me a huge favor, ladies and gentlemen, smash that thumbs up, subscribe, leave me a comment. Where are you tuning in from? And before we continue, ladies and gentlemen, today's sponsor is Patriot Mike Lindell and his companies, My Store and My Pillow. I've said this before, ladies and gentlemen. I'll say it again. Mike's team reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, and they need your help. Mike Lindell is running to be the next governor of Minnesota. He is running against the unlimited fund with the Democrat machine that has unlimited funding, and he is funding himself. When you use promo code ANN, you help his campaign. Please, ladies and gentlemen, go to my store or mypillow.com and use promo code ANN and support Patriot Mike. God bless you. Thank you. Let's get into it, baby. First things first. Are you ready? Are you ready? We're going to go here. And from here, we're going to click onto right here. Breaking. U.S. Attorney Alina Habba announces federal charges against Democrat Representative LaMonica McIver for assaulting ICE agents. United States Attorney Alina Habba announced federal charges against Democrat Representative LaMonica McIver for assaulting ICE agents. Quote, "Today, my office has charged Congresswoman McIver with violation of Title 18, United States Code Section 111A1, for assaulting, impeding, and interfering with law enforcement," Alina Habba said on Monday evening. "No one is above the law, politicians or otherwise." There's a copy of that. And then Secretary Kristi Noem said, after a thorough review of the video footage of Delaney Hall and full investigation from HSI and the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey, has made the determination to charge Congresswoman LaMonica McIver for assaulting, resisting, and impeding law enforcement officers. Who remembers when they indicted Trump and Alina Habba stood outside a federal courtroom in New York and said, "This is a charade. They indicted an innocent man. The real criminals, indicted an innocent man." And they scream, "No one is above the law." And then, I don't know, I was trying to find the video. Then she said, when Trump gets back into that White House, they are going to be the ones indicted. Freaking amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing. Let's move on from there. Kash Patel says the mortgage fraud against Letitia James is underway and being handled by top investigators. Listen to this.
Well, the other issue that's been talked about recently is this mortgage fraud and the FBI opening a formal case against Letitia James.
So again, ongoing cases, and we take our ongoing investigations very seriously because we don't want to do what our predecessors did, which is talk about them ad infinitum in the public and then nothing happens. This case, I can tell you, is being handled by our professional pros who are subject matter experts reporting directly to headquarters, which reports to Dan and I. This case, along with others, because it is a case of great public importance. And unlike other leaders who previously sat in these seats, we don't prejudge any case. We don't care what party elected you to what. It doesn't matter to us. It's irrelevant. If you broke the law, we are going to find out and we are going to investigate you. And then we are going to discuss that matter with the Department of Justice. And this is one of the things that, if your viewers take away nothing else from this interview, the FBI does not make prosecutorial decisions. You asked in the beginning how the FBI was weaponized. Well, the FBI hijacked the constitutional responsibility of the Department of Justice and the Attorney General, and James Comey and others specifically decided what cases to prosecute and not prosecute. Don't believe me? Go to the videotape in the Hillary Clinton investigation. We don't decide prosecutions, and neither does any agent or intel analyst. We have great partners under General Bondi. We work with them and discuss the matter with them, but the prosecutorial decision is with them.
So is there a directive now to focus on fighting real crime?
So as you heard there from our FBI Director Kash Patel, they are right now investigating and building a case against Letitia James for mortgage fraud, for lying on loan applications. But ladies and gentlemen, it just keeps getting better and better. Attorney General Pam Bondi is reportedly poised to charge Alejandro Mayorkas with treason for deliberately allowing 20 million illegals to flood our nation, a disgraceful betrayal that undermines American sovereignty. Alejandro Mayorkas should have been in prison months ago. Months ago. If it wasn't for Alejandro Mayorkas, can you imagine how many children would still be alive? American children that were unalived by illegal aliens? How about all the fentanyl poisonings because of the open border? What about the rapes and the human trafficking? Put away the American citizens that suffered because of the open border. How many foreigners suffered because of the open border? How many died trying to get here? How many children were raped along the way? How many children were killed for their organs? Children, men, women, adults, everybody. And Alejandro Mayorkas is responsible for all of that. Alejandro Mayorkas will see a prison cell. We got more good news. Representative James Comer says potential staffers who operated Biden's autopen have been identified. Everyone is being brought in for interviews, subpoenas, and depositions. Quote, we want to find out who was making decisions in the White House. Roll the clip.
You are going and looking at who is controlling this autopen, because Joe Biden, I mean, he's demonstrating that he doesn't have all the cognitive capabilities they had. That interview was from 2023.
Yeah, that's hard evidence. Early in the President Biden's term as president, it clearly shows that he was in significant mental decline. It questions who was actually making the decisions. So what we found is not just with the pardons he issued, but many of the executive orders that the courts are now using to Trump-proof, many of the executive orders that President Trump is trying to implement to make government more efficient. Many of these executive orders, as well as the pardons of Biden's entire family as a result of our investigation, these were all signed with the autopen. And clearly from that interview, which was many, many months prior to the heavy use of the autopen, Joe Biden wasn't capable of making decisions. He wasn't coherent. We think we've identified who the staffers are. Jason, you all have done great work with that over at Heritage Oversight. We're going to bring everyone that we believe was involved in any role in the use of the autopen. We're going to invite them to come in for a transcribed interview. If they want, then they will receive a subpoena and they will have a full-blown deposition. But we want to find out who was actually making the decisions in the White House during the last 9 months of the Biden administration when he was clearly in mental decline.
That's right. So we were lied to, ladies and gentlemen, about Joe Biden's mental acuity. We were lied to about Joe Biden's health. We were lied to about everything else. So Donald Trump Jr. just posted this. Joe says he had cancer 2 years ago, and everyone said it's a gap when he clearly had dementia. Everyone said he's lucid. Now he's no longer useful. They're all shocked that they missed it. Everyone was in on the cover-up. Who was running the country? We need accountability. Listen to what Biden said 2 years ago. I remember covering this.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? It had to put on their windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
You hear that? Listen to that again.
I grew up have cancer. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why can't, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
That's why I and so many of the damn people I grew up with have cancer. Huh. Okay, Jojo. Now, we also have this huge news when it comes to the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. We're going to get some accountability for that as well.
I've asked viewers things they want to know from the Secretary of Defense. So first of all, here's one of the things people want to know. They want to know about Afghanistan, the disastrous withdrawal, and they want to know when there will be some measure of accountability.
Great question.
Thank you.
We're all over it in our office. In fact, we'll have an announcement, I believe, tomorrow. If not later today, tomorrow or Wednesday, on the developments of our task force. We're moving, we're finding, we're investigating. It's going to take a little bit of time because there's a lot of things that need to be uncovered, classified aspects. We need to interviews that need to be conducted, but we've found the right people to be involved. One of which actually is Stu Scheller, who's on our staff. He was the one guy fired for telling the truth about what happened in Afghanistan. He's now working in the Pentagon. That task force will be led by Sean Parnell, who's our Pentagon spokesman, great guy at the heart of it. So more to come on that, but it may take into 2026, if I'm being honest about it.
The volume on this video is low on their end. I'm sorry.
Really uncover everything, but there will be accountability. We're committed to it. We will not leave a single stone unturned.
Speaking of a date in the future, the Pentagon has missed something like 7.
Okay. Here's what Trump had to say today on Joe Biden's, cancer revelation.
Given to everybody, but it's given just about, and it takes a long time to get to that situation. Now, I think, to get to a stage 9, I think that if you take a look, it's the same doctor that said that Joe was cognitively fine. There was nothing wrong with him. Well, he said, if it's the same doctor, he said there was nothing wrong there. And that's being proven to be a sad situation. And the autopen is becoming a very big deal. The autopen is becoming a big deal because it seems like that maybe was the president who ever operated the autopen. But when they say that that was not good, they also, you have to look and you have to say that the test was not so good either. In other words, there are things going on that the public wasn't informed. And I think somebody's going to have to speak to his doctor, if it's the same, or even if it's 2 separate doctors. Why wasn't the cognitive ability, why wasn't that discussed? And I think the doctor said he's just fine, and it's turned out to everybody.
So apparently he's got stage 9 cancer that is spreading to his bones. It's really bad. For it to get to there, being a doctor, being a president who gets yearly checkups, they knew that he has cancer years ago. When he was running for president in 2020, they knew already back then that he had cancer, ladies and gentlemen. But the point I want to make here is this. We finally have a government that is going to give us accountability. We have a government under Donald Trump that is investigating the crooks, that is investigating the investigators and prosecuting the prosecutors. We have a government that is now cleaning up the government. We have a government that is really, truly working for we, the people. When it comes to the border, to mass deportations, when it comes to the economy and peace through strength, it is a government that is representing we, the people. See, Joe Biden talked a good game, but he was best friends with other world leaders. Trump is just crapping on other world leaders. He's not here to make friends with world leaders because Trump understands world leaders did not get him into the White House, but we, the American people, did. We fought election fraud. We fought mail-in voting fraud. We fought the machines, and we won. We made it too big to rig, and Trump understands that he works for us because we elected him. Unlike Joe Biden, he didn't work for us because he knew. Even with dementia and cancer, he knew. He knew, just like all the other Democrats knew and still know. But I do have an issue with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel. I do have one issue with them, and I want your guys' opinions. Let me pull this up. Here it is. FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Dan Bongino face massive Patriot backlash after claiming that Epstein did kill himself and downplaying the Trump Butler assassination plot. The newly appointed FBI leadership under Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino has ignited a firestorm across conservative circles after publicly backing the official narrative that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide and brushing off explosive concern about the shocking assassination attempts on President Donald Trump. During a tense Fox News appearance with Maria Bartiromo, the two Trump allies celebrated as deep state slayers, paraded the same discredited government line that patriots have fought against for years. During the interview, Bartiromo asked Patel and Bongino about Patel's recent Senate testimony, where he was grilled by Senator John Kennedy about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Kennedy asked, quote, "Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?" Patel's response was, quote, "Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in a metropolitan detention center." When Bartiromo challenged Patel, nothing that people don't believe it, Patel leaned on his experience as public defender and prosecutor. Here's what Mario said. "You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it." Kash Patel responded, "Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their own opinion. But as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what it was." Dan Bongino adds, "He killed himself. Again, you want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself." Hold up. Hold up. Dan Bongino just told us he saw the whole file. What about the 30 minutes of missing footage? You know how they tell us the cameras magically turned off for 30 minutes during the moment he supposedly killed himself? But now Dan Bongino says they saw everything. He killed himself. Stop asking questions. We're professionals. We're prosecutors. We're federal agents. We're more experienced than you. But my problem is Kash Patel in 2021, 22, 23, and 24 went on dozens of podcasts, interviews, radio shows, and said, Epstein killed himself and I'm going to prove it. When I'm FBI director, I will find out who killed him and I will arrest those people. But now, apparently, the 30 minutes footage, they didn't mention that. But let's keep going. InfoWars host Alex Jones expressed his disapproval of Patel's and Bongino's claims, labeling them as bullshit. You know, and
you said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
What about the 30 minutes?
So who's in charge at the New York FBI field office? Who's withholding Epstein docs from the Attorney General? James Dennehy is running the show there. There he is.
No, listen. Didn't they tell us just a few days ago that they don't have all the files? Everything's been, there's a lot of hidden and destroyed stuff, but now they have seen all the files. Which one is it?
This is the guy who emailed his whole staff to dig in after Trump took office. And don't forget that James Comey's daughter is an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. She worked on the Epstein and Maxwell cases. She's kind of knee deep in this.
Look at this. I'm reading where the highlighted stuff is, the green. Reports in the media indicate Moran Comey, the daughter of disgraced former FBI Director James Comey, is the individual who lost the jailhouse CCTV tapes that recorded what happened when pedophile Jeffrey Epstein allegedly tried to kill himself in the Metropolitan Correction Center in New York. Maureen Comey is an assistant U.S. district attorney in New York who has been working on the Epstein case. The footage deals with the alleged first suicide attempt. The video was, quote, lost as a result of technical errors, Comey stated in a court filing. Technical errors can mean it was erased. You don't just lose CCTV footage. The same guy that had just called for the assassination of Donald Trump a couple days ago, his daughter lost the tapes. Guys, if I record something with my phone, I can't lose it unless I delete it. If it is a federal jail, you don't lose anything unless you delete it. I like that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi and Alina Habba, that they are indicting Democrat criminals, that they are going after Letitia James and Big Panty Fanny. But when it comes to that, my number one thing is Jeffrey Epstein files. If Jeffrey Epstein's clients are not arrested, if they're not held accountable, nothing else matters. The victims need justice. The girls, the boys, the women, everyone who was harmed and raped and molested and everything else, they need justice. Now,
Epstein was facing sex trafficking charges in Lower Manhattan. Where's all that paperwork? The FBI seized computers, surveillance videos, banking records, file cabinets, and photographs from all of Epstein's properties in New Mexico, the Virgin Islands, Palm Beach, and in New York. The Justice Department also gave Epstein a sweetheart non-prosecution deal 17 years ago. Where are those files? The Bureau of Prisons. Where are those files? You remember where Epstein killed himself? I asked Bill Barr about that, why everything seemed to go wrong that night.
When I first heard all the information and all the coincidences here, I was suspicious.
What were the coincidences? I mean, those were a lot of coincidences.
Well, one of the cameras was out.
Right.
He was supposed to have a cellmate. Cellmate left. They didn't replace the cellmate. And the guards who were supposed to check him every half hour didn't check him.
My EMT source said he was on the scene immediately to pull Epstein's body out to the morgue. And when he got to the cell, he saw 7 people there touching Epstein's body and moving stuff around.
Wild. Wild, wild, wild. So, and then Bongino goes on to say, you know what, Maria? Kash is not kidding. We've been personally briefed extensively on every single detail, nugget, and tendril of this case. One is actively in the court right now. So out of respect for the case, it's probably more appropriate that I stay quiet. I love what Dan Bongino are doing, Kash Patel and all of them. But when it comes to the Epstein files, ladies and gentlemen, I don't like what the hell is going on. I don't like the loudest anti-Epstein cover-up voice, Kash Patel, is now running with what Epstein clients want him to run with. The same guy that told us he's seen Epstein's black book. On day one, I'm going to release it. Where is it? Where is it? We, the American people, want proof, evidence, and facts. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up, subscribe. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.